It was Mary's idea on the gavel.
You love to see it.
All right, it is 7 p.m. and I would like to call this meeting to order. While this meeting is being held in person, we are also offering the option for the public to participate through Zoom if preferred. Instructions on how to participate virtually are included in the City Council calendar item listed on the front page of missionks.org. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Robin, please call the roll.
Thomas.
Here.
Boltinghouse.
Here.
Ryard. Here. Pring.
Here.
Josie.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
All right, we do not have any public hearings tonight, so we will move on to our special presentations. And everybody bear with me. We have a lot of great groups and individuals and causes to recognize tonight. So we've got a long set here on our special presentations and proclamations. So our first presentation is a proclamation recognizing this week, May 14th to 20th, 2023, as National Police Week. Each May, our nation salutes the men and women who put their lives on the line every day to maintain public safety. On Peace Officers Memorial Day and during Police Week, we not only mourn the heroes taken from us because they chose to serve, we also recognize all who have dedicated their lives to this important work. Our law enforcement officers have tough jobs, regularly working in dangerous and difficult, highly tense situations, often facing challenges deeply rooted in systemic problems and broader social issues. Mission is committed to ensuring our dedicated police officers receive the support and recognition they have earned. Deputy Chief Lane, will you please come forward to accept the proclamation and pass along the council's thanks and appreciation for the work the men and women of the Mission Police Department do every day. Thank you, Chief. Okay, our next presentation is a proclamation recognizing Friday, June 2nd as National Gun Violence Awareness Day. Gun violence is now the #1 cause of death of American children 0 to 18 years old, and the National Center for Disease Control, CDC, has defined gun violence as a public health epidemic. Communities across the nation, including Mission, are working to end senseless gun violence. Protecting public safety in the community is local government's highest responsibility, and Mission is proud to join the campaign by encouraging citizens to wear orange on the first Friday in June to help raise awareness about gun violence and honor the lives of gun violence victims and survivors. We renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the wrong hands and encourage responsible gun ownership to keep our children safe. Tonight, we are joined by Connie Taylor from the League of Women Voters of Johnson County, Joan Jacobson from Grandparents for Gun Safety, and Katie Mangelsdorf from Moms Demand Action to accept this proclamation. Would any of you like to make remarks? One and the other.
I'll go first. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Flores, City Council, staff, and members of the public. My name is Connie Taylor, and I'm the co-president with the League of Women Voters of Johnson County. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. We are honored and appreciate this evening's proclamation that gun violence has impacted public health through the region, regardless of the size of the community, and have pledged to find ways to make our community safer for everyone. And I wanted to share additional statistics that are directly related to Kansas. 69% of gun deaths are the result of suicide, with 28% as a result of homicide. In 2021, 503 people died as a result of a firearm. And in 2019, there were 403 gun deaths, with 43 of those deaths affecting children and teens aged 0 to 19 years old. Kansas has the 22nd highest firearm suicide rate in the United States. And Kansas spends $95.1 million each year as a result of gun violence. We invite you to our Gun Safety Impacts Public Health Program, Saturday, June 3rd, beginning at 9 a.m. at Meadowbrook Park Clubhouse in Prairie Village. Our conversation will feature Judy Sherry, President and founder of Grandparents for Gun Safety, and award-winning public opinion writer Mark McCormick about how gun violence impacts public health. And if you're unable to attend, we are taping that and it'll be available on our YouTube channel. Again, on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Johnson County, thank you for your support.
Thank you. And I believe our representative from Moms Demand Action also wanted to speak.
Hello, my name is Katie Mangelsdorf. I'm a Lenexa resident and council member Kring is my children's grandmother. Thank you, Mayor Flora and council members. I'm here on behalf of Moms Demand Action of Johnson County. I'm very appreciative to be here accepting the proclamation designating National Gun Violence Awareness Day here in Mission. Orange is the color that Hadia Pendleton's friends wore in her honor when she was shot and killed in Chicago at the age of 15, just 1 week after performing at President Obama's second inaugural parade in 2013. After her death, her friends and family asked us to stand up, speak out, and wear orange to raise awareness about gun violence. Wear Orange officially began on June 2nd, 2015, on what would have been Hadia's 18th birthday. Since then, orange has been the defining color of the gun violence prevention movement. Wherever it's worn, the color orange honors the more than 120 lives ended and the more than 200 people wounded by gun violence every day in this country. Now, years later, and especially after mass shootings at Sandy Hook and hundreds of other places, Las Vegas, Parkland, El Paso, Uvalde, Allen, Texas, and on, the common sense gun safety movement in America has grown to national organizations with millions of volunteers. As you can see that you're presenting to 3 different groups tonight for the same issue. Our focus is not only on the mass shootings experienced every day, but on daily gun violence that tears apart families and communities. And in fact, as my cohort at the League of Women Voters indicated, here in Kansas, the great majority of gun violence deaths are suicides. These are complex problems with no single simple answer, but shining a light on the work being done to prevent gun violence is a step in the right direction. Thank you for designating National Gun Violence Awareness Day in Mission on Friday, June 2nd, and I hope to see you in orange.
A group photo. Yeah. Let's squeeze in a little bit.
All right. I can get everyone. Beautiful. Thank you.
Okay, our next presentation is a proclamation recognizing May as Building Safety Month in the City of Mission. Building Safety Month is sponsored by the International Code Council to remind the public about the critical role the largely unknown guardians of public safety within our communities, our local code officials. These are the people who assure us of safe, efficient, and livable buildings that are essential to the health and economic vitality of Mission. Mission is pleased to observe Building Safety Month, asking our residents to consider the commitment to improve building safety and economic investments at home and in the community, and to acknowledge the essential services provided by local and state building departments, fire prevention bureaus, and federal agencies protecting lives and property. Mr. Scott, would you please come forward to accept the proclamation? And Brian, I think you will also be introducing a new member of staff. Is that right?
Not tonight, Mayor. We have a new building inspector that started on Monday. His name is Devin Bryant. And so we were very excited to have him here. He came back on Tuesday. So that's a good thing. And Jim has been showing him around. Jim had a much needed vacation last week. So Jim is back in the office this week and getting Devin acclimated and getting caught up in all the building inspections. Jim and I also had a meeting this afternoon with FSC, which is a third-party consulting firm that we just hired to help us with the inspections that we're doing on the old Mission Bowl, which you now call Residence in Rock Creek, and then Rushton Elementary School. And Jim and the consultant were talking about the Residence in Rock Creek project and devices that go through the floor joists and tie the structure together, and it was all over my head, but I'm glad he's here because he knows how all that works. So thank you very much for those resources that you provided us, and we appreciate the recognition. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Next, May 21st to 27th, 2023 is National Public Works Week, which we are recognizing with a proclamation. Public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are vital to creating sustainable and resilient communities and to the high quality of life and well-being of our mission residents. These dedicated professionals are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting important infrastructure facilities that are essential to our city. 2023 marks the 63rd annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. And Mission joins with APWA officials in urging all citizens to pay tribute to our public works staff and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our health, safety, and quality of life. Mr. Am, will you please accept this proclamation for your department and pass along the council's appreciation to your staff for their dedication and commitment to serving the residents of Mission? Our next proclamation recognizes Saturday, May 20th as Kids to Parks Day. This day empowers families to embrace what they can do outdoors in America's parks, public lands, and waters while encouraging kids to lead a more active lifestyle. In honor of Kids to Parks Day, our Parks and Recreation Department will host their annual Kids to Parks Day event on Saturday, May 20th at Streamway Park from 10 a.m. until noon. Our Parks and Recreation staff work hard throughout the year to promote the benefits and rewards of an active lifestyle. Mr. Almany, will you please accept this proclamation on behalf of your staff? Our next presentation this evening is recognition of the retirement of two longstanding Mission businesses, Salsa Grill, which has been part of Mission since 2001, and Mission Fresh Fashion, which has been part of our Mission community since 2004. We wish the owners of both businesses great success in their retirement and thank them for their commitment to the Mission Business District and to supporting and encouraging a thriving and vibrant business community in the city of Mission. And I think John is here tonight. So, John, you want to come up and say a couple words? I missed you in the back corner.
I like to hide. I like to hide in corners. Thank you, Mayor Flora and Councilwoman Councilwoman Kring and Emily. Thank you. I just wanted to say, appreciate being a partner with Mission for 22 years. What attracted me to Mission then and still attracts me now is our sense of community. I mean, obviously the independent owner operator culture that this town has fostered is very unique in Johnson County, and you're not getting rid of me just yet.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up, we have our If I Were Mayor poster contest winners. So beginning in 2021, in honor of the city's 70th birthday, Mission hosted our first If I Were Mayor poster contest. Every year since then, students in grades K through 6 have been asked to think about what changes they would like to see in their city if they were in charge and submit a poster showing their best ideas. Once again this year, I was thrilled to see the wonderful ideas that come from our youngest citizens here in Mission. It is always a joy to be able to hear the ideas that our city's children have to make it an even better place to live. The winners of this year's contest will be highlighted in the upcoming issue of the Mission magazine. And tonight I am excited to recognize them in person. Laura, will you please introduce our winners and present them with their gift cards?
Well, and I asked all of you, so Lana and Cora and Claire and George and Henry, will all come up
Come on up.
and, yep, okay? Claire. I'm just saying, if you're talking to the microphone, you guys will kind of stand in front of me in a line so the council, so the council can see them.
So as the mayor said, it is always fun to take a look at the ideas and the enthusiasm and the compassion and the knowledge that these students have and the thought that they put into thinking about what makes a community a great place. And so I'm going to just kind of quickly cross, but we'll share. So Lana talked a lot about making our community a place where everyone had a home and felt at home. And I think, and I didn't get a chance ahead of time, but Lana, I think for these flags of different countries that represent the diversity of people that might be in our community. And then Claire wanted to highlight more family events in our parks. Putting up signs to encourage cleanup and picking up trash. And then Claire's been a participant the last 2 years in a big city cleanup event. Donuts for everyone. And food things at the community center. And then George, let's take a step forward here. So you were mayor. So George would add a hotel, a stew shop, a garden, and rebuild Runza. I remember they were very favorite place. Didn't you get to travel? When you travel to visit family, you do get to have your Runza mix. So that's like and then Cora, I think in the past, so many of these are repeat winners from year to year, but it's exciting to see kind of their ideas evolve over time as they think about things. But Cora shares a lot of ideas about the environment and the ecology and protection of various species. And then Henry, let me see. So Henry has the subway system, right? Menards.
Food hall.
Playground for the farmers market, bakery, new bowling alley. And tell me what this one, food hall, it's a food hall. So I think a lot of things, they're very attuned to what draws people out, what gets you out of your house, what gets you being a part of that community. So a special thing, and each one of them has their certificate of award and their gift card.
Ooh.
And as the mayor said, we'll be featuring them in the upcoming issue of the Mission Magazine. Thank you very much. And then I'm gonna- Mayor, if you wouldn't mind just taking a quick step out in the lobby. We're
Yeah.
in front of the wall here. You go.
Brief pause.
Thank you all. Good job. All right, let's come through really quick. How long have you?
Okay, I will wait for Robin to come back.
Just,
Stop using the
I
microphones,
just wanted to
everyone.
say quickly that you know Claire's mom, Robin, and Henry and George's mom, Kim, is on our Parks, Recreation and Tree Commission. And Lana and Cora's mom, you will recognize she's bikes her kids to school.
Oh.
And she's going to be featured in a story in the next issue of the Mission magazine. So
Oh, nice. That's great. All right. I think we've got everyone we need back. So next would be issuance of notes and bonds, but we do not have any items related to the issuance of notes and bonds this evening. So we will move into our consent agenda. Our consent agenda has 5 items tonight. Our council committees met on May 3rd and fully discussed each of these items. The committees agreed that the items listed on our consent agenda are routine enough to be considered under a single motion. If a council member or member of the public would like an item removed from the consent agenda, that they may request that at this time. If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
Mayor, I move the city council adopt the consent agenda as printed, items 4A through 4E.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Robin, please call the roll.
Trustee
Aye.
Boltinghouse.
Aye.
Kring.
Aye.
Thomas.
Yes.
Ryder.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, next we will move into public comments. If any members of the public would like to make a comment on items not included on the agenda, now would be the time. If you are participating through Zoom, please either add your comment in the chat feature and it will be read out loud, or note that you would like to speak and we will call on you shortly to make your comment verbally. Please remember your comments or questions are visible to everyone in the meeting. If you are part of our in-person group tonight, please raise your hand but stay seated and we will call on you to come to the lectern to make your comments. When you make your comment, please state your name and city of residence for the record. Also be conscientious of others trying to speak and speak slowly and clearly. If I need to confirm something that may have been difficult to hear, I will ask for clarification. I think I did see a couple of hands. So, yep, front first, then behind.
Hello, my name is Joe. I live over on 53rd and Outlook here in Mission,
Joe, do you have a last name?
Donaway. Thank you. First, I'd like to acknowledge the city for its greenhouse gas presentation from earlier. It's amazing that that's something we're looking into because it's important we don't descend into a fiery hell. Moving on from that, the CSO purchase of the vehicle. There's a small concern of mine that while acknowledging that the city is looking for a Ford Maverick, which I think is amazing because especially on the hybrid side, the dealerships are at a point where they can take advantage of people due to the fact that the Mavericks are in such high demand right now. Most dealerships are selling 10 over sticker price. For the same gas mileage, the city could get something much cheaper and sell it in 2 to 3 years when the Ford Maverick hybrids become available again. Moving on, I was curious about the surplus that was spoken about in some of the city documentation. Where does surplus go and how is that value established? Moving on from there, I'd like to talk about the community and the character of community as evidenced by the young members of our community who are just here. Mission has a character and it has a very specific kind of community. I grew up here. I lived here. I went to high school at North. I went to Rushton. Thank you for tearing down Rushton if you were part of it. It was bad. The construction in it was bad. This new grade school, I'm assuming and hoping is going to be amazing. And I'm hoping that kids will actually be able to breathe inside of it because the old school, you couldn't. Moving forward, talking about the Millhouse project. My first and most important question is whether Millhouse can do their project without tax incentives. If not, it's a bad deal for the city. It's a bad deal for Millhouse's investors. It's a bad deal for everyone. I'm also concerned because we're at very high interest rates right now, and most commercial developers get 5-year loans, and every 5 years they have to renew their loans, and those loans are on 20-year AMs. That's a problem if anything comes up that slows down a project, but also when it comes to refinancing. Their affordable housing component is unfortunate. The numbers tell a story of Millhouse attempting to meet a minimum percentage number in order to most likely receive an incentive, whether that's federal, state, or city. There's no real commitment to affordable housing. It doesn't even say, at least in the literature online that I was able to access, how long that minimum percentage of affordable housing that they're offering would stay affordable housing. Is that going to be 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? I would wager that it's a set number of years that again meets a minimum threshold in order to receive an incentive. There's no true commitment to affordable housing. The rest of the rent numbers that they're providing us are pro forma. They're not real, they're made up in order to make their spreadsheets look good. They're not realistic. What's their demographic data? I don't necessarily trust it. I lived in a middle-class slum when I was in Los Angeles for a little while. It's large, high-density housing where parking is at a premium. You have to pay for your spot. Everyone is just crushed in on each other. No one talks to each other. No one interacts with each other. It destroys the community. I worry that an uncaring developer will create that sort of housing situation. Moving forward with that, if Millhouse was really committed to affordable housing, I'm only talking about for Millhouse only, how about they restrict themselves to a 3.5% per year per unit rent control, or a 5% rent control, only for them. Not that I'm actually advocating rent control, because for the most part, I've seen both the harms and benefits of it. I've been affected by the harms and benefits of rent control. I also think that if they continue to come through, they should be restricted from using any software or participating in any software that aggregates and or suggests rent prices, because that's one of the ways that rent prices are being pushed up right now, and it's dangerous.
Joe, we do have a 5-minute limit, so if
Am I
you could
getting
maybe wrap
close?
up your last item, you got about one more
Gotcha.
minute.
And then we'll talk about the Beverly Park. I don't like how they're trying to steal Beverly Park from us. They're basically turning it into a private park for their own use. You would end up having to park within their complex in order to access Beverly Park. Right now, Beverly Park has its own parking, or you can park on Beverly. It's easy to get to. Nobody wants to cross MARTWAY. Nobody wants to park on MARTWAY to get to a park. And the $300,000 discretionary funds that they would offer for that basically says, here, let us take your park, and in return, you can build the equipment for it too. And with that, I will yield any time that I actually went over. So the rest of it's yours.
Thank you. Yes. Come on up and state your name and city of residence for the record.
My name's Kim Donaway, and I'm a Mission resident, long time, and I'm talking about the Millhouse development. That's just one of them. I have not dug into the other apartment complexes that are wanting their corporate welfare from us residents, which are pricing us out of the city. Because if you're out there in your wards and you're listening to all your constituents, the same common complaint is you're pricing us all out. They're all saying it's too expensive to live in Mission, and there is absolutely no reason to give corporate welfare tax abatements to multifamily. It is the most secure commercial development. They just bring in their equity partners to fund the project. Once they get the baby built, then they do a 70% loan out finance, so they can either buy out their equity partners, pay them off, or the equity partners can stay in the deal for a while. And then they walk away. This one was asking for old hip pocket money for the next 10 years as they laugh going down the street, because that's what happens. I've been playing in this playground for 15 years, so has he. We have traveled around the nation. I can give you calls to get onto where these multifamilies are being traded in this city. And you just bring in the multi. They do not deserve corporate welfare. It is so lucrative. I owned apartment buildings years ago. It is a cash cow. And to get sucked into what they want to do. So I did a quick number on their pro forma. So taking a 5% vacancy rate, which is what a bank requires when they want to go and refi this puppy back out, they will be bringing in 5.2 million a year. Now, let's consider the aspect of what's going on in apartment complexes. And I called Nilo earlier today about it because I have rentals in other cities currently. And what they're doing in apartments, they are putting 3 per bedroom. So 1 bedroom is getting 3 people, a 2-bedroom is getting 6, a 3-bedroom is getting 9. So you can only ask for fair housing, how many people? So I asked Nilo, do we have limitations? He doesn't know. He's going to find out with the planner what their occupancy and what it is with apartment complexes, because this is what's happening in the market. I know this market. So if we have 9 individuals in a 3-bedroom apartment that Millhouse wants, that's 9 possible cars. How many parking spaces did they place into that? 1.125 per unit? Seriously. And to have them take our park and put it into a corner of a floodplain, which brings you all the mosquitoes and all the refuse and nobody wants to use it. It is dark. It can stay over there by the community center because they want to steal our park, which we pay for their personal use and their pet project. Now they need to get their numbers together because the $200, if not many people are my age, like he is, and we know the projects. My father took us to all those high density and what you've got going on in the city of Mission. Not a single one of those multifamilies deserve a tax abatement. And that's a fact, because I know that playground and that capital stack and debt structuring. And I'm sick and tired of us bleeding the residents in the city that you all are allowing this free open checkbook. Because get out there and walk your ward and talk to your people, because I see people all the time. Debbie knows that. People know me all over the city. But you got to listen to them. When you're hearing young ones that work at our banks, that they can't afford to live in Mission because it's too expensive, what's that saying? Oh, no, but we can give them corporate welfare for them building some apartments. I have 2 corporations. Where is my corporate handout? I've never asked once. And a lot of us small businesses have never asked. We don't even get asked. We're not even considered. But you're willing to give out all this money that rips off from the city and the constituents? If you don't know what commercial development is, it's about time people start studying what it is and how they walk away with all that money, millions for years, because nobody understands it.
Kim, you got 1 minute.
So with that, I do thank you because I get very passionate about this. Because see, I'm in the world of pest control and I also am in the world of rehabs. So I see the good, the bad, and ugly. I see nothing going on with the water waste in the commercial district. The LHS issues that I see coming up. Some of the stuff on the first presentation, I can tell you what businesses are doing in commercial, why they're wasting all this energy and creating the carbon footprint. 40 years of looking at this, and with that, I'm done.
Thank you, Kim. All right, next would be items from our planning commission. We do not have any items from our planning commission tonight, and so we will move into our committee reports. Councilmember Boltinghouse, will you please provide a report from the Finance and Administration Committee?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The Finance and Administration Committee met on May 3rd and considered 2 items. The meeting minutes and the purchase of the CSO vehicle were approved under the consent agenda earlier this evening. No items will be considered under the regular agenda this evening, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Chosi, will you please provide a report from the Community Development Committee?
Certainly. Thank you, Mayor. The Community Development Committee also met on May 3rd and considered 4 items. The meeting minutes, the 2023 Public Works capital equipment purchases, resolution ratifying the emergency expenditure of funds to perform stormwater repairs at 6100 West 62nd Terrace, 5816 West 62nd Terrace, and the intersection of 57th Street and Riggs. and fencing repairs at the Powell Community Center were approved under the consent agenda earlier this evening. No items will be considered under the regular agenda this evening, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Next, we would move into unfinished business, but we do not have any unfinished business tonight, so we will move into our new business. We do have 2 items of new business tonight. Our first item is the selection of chairs and vice chairs for our council committees. We'll start with our Community Development Committee and first vote on the chairperson, followed by the vice chairperson. We will then do the same for the Finance and Administration Committee. So CDC, I would now open the floor for nominations for Community Development Committee Chair. I will first take all nominations and they will each require a second.
Mayor, I nominate Leah Loudon for the position of Community Development Committee Chairperson with a term expiring May 15th, 2024.
Second.
A nomination and a second. Any further nominations? Seeing none. Robin, please call the roll.
Thomas.
Yeah.
King.
Aye.
Josie.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Ryder.
Aye.
Boltinghouse.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, we will now take nominations for Community Development Committee Vice Chair. Yes, Trent?
Mayor, I nominate Ben Josie for the position of Community Development Committee Vice Chairperson with the term expiring May 15th, 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further nominations? Seeing none, Robin, please call the vote.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Josie.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Boltinghouse.
Aye.
Thomas.
Yeah.
Motion carries.
All right, we will now take nominations we'll move into Finance and Administration. And so are there any nominations for Finance and Administration Committee Chair? Yes, Trent?
Mayor, I nominate Mary Ryherd for the position of Finance and Administration Committee Chairperson with the term expiring May 15th, 2024.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further nominations? Seeing none, Robin, please call the roll.
King.
Aye.
Boltinghouse.
Aye.
Ryder.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Josie.
Aye.
Thomas.
Yeah.
Motion carries.
And finally, we will take nominations for our Finance and Administration Committee Vice Chair. Yes, Trent?
Mayor, I nominate Hillary Thomas for the position of Finance and Administration Committee Vice Chairperson with a term expiring May 15th, 2024.
Second.
We have a motion or a nomination and a second. Any further nominations? Seeing none, Robin, please call the roll.
Josie.
Aye.
Loudon. Oh, sorry. Boltinghouse.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Ryder.
Aye.
Thomas. Motion carries.
All right, congratulations to our new committee chairs and vice chairs. We appreciate all the leadership we have among our council. Next, our second item of new business is for authorization to submit grant applications for carbon reduction program funding for bike share infrastructure, Operation Green Light Traffic Signal Coordination Infrastructure, and installation of electric vehicle charging stations. Emily.
Thank you very much. So as you are all aware, there is an incredible number of grant programs that are coming from our federal government. And we have been encouraged by our governing body to apply for those when they are appropriate for our community. One of the ones that jumped to our attention early on was the carbon reduction program. This is about $5.6 million that are on the Kansas side that Mid-America Regional Council will be distributing among projects in this first phase. There's a second phase that's $3.9 million that would be a call for projects next year in 2024. The goal of the carbon reduction program grant is truly to just remove carbon from the transportation system. So there are many different types of eligible projects, mostly purely around transportation, but also street trees, alternative fuels, other mobility, bike ped projects, et cetera. So since the call for projects opened in the end of March, there have been a lot of regional conversations about what made sense for application. Lots of collaborative effort and discussion. Mission will be, if you all authorize us to proceed, part of or the lead applicant in 3 different grants. So that's explained in the packet, but I will go forward to detail those out. I don't know quite what order makes the most sense, but I'll do it in the order of the packet. So
Choose your own
rideshare,
adventure.
yeah, that's right. Rideshare infrastructure is the first one. This one is the one where we will be the lead applicant. We had discussed with the council in 2019 bike share. So if you're all familiar with Bike Walk KC and the Ride KC bike model, it is bikes, originally pedal bikes. Now they've moved to electric assist bikes, which extends the range quite a bit for how far a person of many different physical abilities could travel within the region. So these are hubs or lock to technology. So they have many different hubs throughout the region already in Kansas City, Missouri, KCK, other communities, Lenexa, Johnson County Parks, et cetera, North Kansas City. They there's an upfront cost for the bikes and the hubs that a community would incur. Then there is an ongoing maintenance cost for each bike that includes maintenance of the bikes, but also balancing of the system. So returning the bikes to the hubs, and Bike Walk KC takes care of that. So those are some of the costs that are involved. We had talked about it. The cost without grant funding is quite steep, and it's a new program for us. So we really have to be conscious of taking this on. I think, and I think others feel, that it's a really nice fit for Mission in terms of our downtown. We want to create a sense of place. We want to create, send the signal that Mission's downtown is a destination and that there's lots to do here and lots of attractions within our community. We can play off of the Rock Creek Trail within our corridor. There's just lots of really nice reasons that I think it's a good fit for Mission. We hosted a call, or we were part of a call with many of their Northeast Johnson County cities and the county itself with Bike Walk KC a few weeks ago to talk about who else might be interested in a joint application. And I think there is just a lot. There are bike hubs at the plaza and then definitely in Kansas City, Missouri, KCK, like I mentioned, at the corner of 47th and Mission, and Westwood side and Westwood. So it's right around the periphery, but proper Northeast Johnson County, we don't have that presence. And so we're testing the waters to see who might be ready to jump in with us right now, pretty quick. So it has turned out to be Mission moving forward as the primary applicant, but with Roland Park also sponsoring 2 stations will be our proposal. And I believe there are other communities that, but for the quick turn, would be interested and also are interested in seeing how our process works. They've had different experiences with, the bird scooters or other types of technology. And so they're sort of needing to just kind of see or think about it a little more deeply. So no promises there, but we will be proposing 3 hubs in Mission along the Rock Creek Trail with 10 bikes per hub. The critical piece in this is that you need to have a certain number of bikes. You can't piecemeal it too much because your rider satisfaction will decrease if they go to a hub and there's no bike available. So you sort of need a critical mass to jump into this game so that there can be the proper sort of shuffling between hubs. So we don't want to go too small, don't want to go too big, but we think 3 balanced across the corridor makes sense for us. Roland Park is thinking about 2 hubs of 10 bikes each to play off of ours. I think there's a lot of interplay that can happen there at the Price Chopper and potentially at our park or at the corner of Rowe and Johnson. So I maybe could pause there for questions, but that's the plan. There's cost breakout in this, as many of the grants are 80-20% split, local match is 20%. There's this upfront cost that we're discussing for the 30 bikes of $23,000 represented in our 20%. And then ongoing maintenance costs would be estimated there. You see that 48 to 56,000, which is the number that we'll have to reckon with when the grant funds expire. We're applying this for a 5-year window. This grant is unique in that the operation costs are included. Typically, lots of the grants that we've applied for are seen done in the region rather. Operation costs are not included. Those can be offset either by sponsorships. Well, they can be offset by the fare box revenue, they call it. So Mission will own this infrastructure. And so every time a bike is ridden, that cost of the ride or the membership will offset the operation cost for us. We get those revenues. So that can be potentially 20 to 25% of the operation cost that has been seen in other communities. But also sponsorships are a really promising opportunity for us. And I think we need to look into that a lot, especially for the developments that are coming forward. We've seen, Bike Walk KC has seen that being attractive for developers who are interested in their residents having memberships and having the bike hubs be located at their properties. And then, of course, we could stand to benefit from having additional bikes in our community and more hubs located within our boundaries. So.
All right. Do we have questions for Emily on this first component of the grant application? Yeah, Ken?
You identified the location for the Roland Park
Oh,
ones.
I did, yes.
Where are these, where are you considering locating them here in Michigan?
Sure. We're initially proposing, and these are flexible, so we can, and we also can use the data of ridership to inform our decision making. But we think that in front of the residents at Rock Creek makes sense because it's near the Mission Transit Center and also commercial employment use, and then also those new residents. But also there's a nice connection to the single family residential and along the Rock Creek Trail. Also, it's on our eastern boundary, so that connects well to the Roland Park stations and also others. Then potentially either at the Outlook parking lots that we'll be studying through the Planning Sustainable Places grant. If that turns into some type of mobility hub, I think it makes sense there, or at the Mission Market because of its visibility, the bike fix-it station, the just popularity and usage of that site and its central location. And then Legacy Park on the other end of the Rock Creek Trail, again, very visible, again, connected to transit at the bus stop there, post office, Target, lots of the commercial, and also potentially workers in the area, but also not too far from single family residential and the residents that live at Wellstone as well. So those are the initial ones. That's not set in stone, and we are in charge of where we put them, and we can use Bike Walk's expertise and also our data. Like I mentioned, if they need to move, we can relocate them. Sure.
Any other questions on this piece?
Sure. Yeah. So as I mentioned, the 47th and Mission Road near Joe's Barbecue, there's a station there. And then at Woodside Health Club, there's also a hub there. And then of course at the plaza. So those are, I think, some of the closest connections that we would be playing off of. And we've had conversations, as I mentioned, with Fairway and Prairie Village. That would be just a really attractive connection point if they were to hop on board next year with the next round of funding as well.
Great. Next program.
Yeah, I did want to mention one other thing.
yeah.
So I mentioned the hubs. You also have the lock to technology. These bikes can't just be strewn about. They have to be affixed to something. So you lock them to an existing bike rack. So if the bike rack out here at City Hall, or at the community center or at, commercial setting, et cetera. So I think as part of our other Planning Sustainable Places grant, we'll be doing our bike ped plan, and looking at bike parking is also something that I think we should really factor into this, because these bikes can be parked anywhere, which is the beauty of the system. You open the app then and you see all the bikes that are at the hubs, which would be the majority, but then there could be a bike closer to where you are looking to travel from. So that's my last point. So then we will be participating with other operations. So you all are familiar with Operation Greenlight. Is that the next one? Yes, Operation Greenlight is a system that is region-wide, operated through Metro or MARC, and it is to synchronize and coordinate traffic signals to reduce idling and backup, and therefore emissions. So you want to have cars moving through and not idling and emitting a lot of carbon into the atmosphere. So we already have the Operation Greenlight in place at Shawnee Mission Parkway. Celia suggested that we consider adding Johnson Drive to our Operation Greenlight system, which would, I think, improve user experience on that corridor, but also reduce emissions associated with travel on that road, which I think makes great sense. So those signals are included in your packet. The numbers have increased slightly, just as we've been refining them and including other signals that make sense. And those are the ones at Knoll at MARTWAY. Null and MARTWAY, because that plays so closely to the ones on Johnson. So the updated cost altogether, $197,380, and these are estimates, which would be the local match of $39,476 initially, and then an annual annual ongoing cost of $6,400. So just a slight bump from what you see in your packet.
And that has the dual benefit of just making traffic more pleasant as well as helping with emissions. Is that That right.
Right. It's more fun. Right. Keep on flowing. Don't need us to slow down. Right, exactly. Well, you should come if you want.
Just quickly, so one advantage of OGL is they monitor our signal so they can see when there's an issue and they can change the timing. They also optimize our timing. So if anybody says, why am I sitting there? You know, they can do all that. So it's a real beneficial for $800 a year once we get
Yeah.
the system in place. So, thank you.
Great. Any questions about that piece? Yeah, Ben?
Do we know potentially how much upside there is? Like, do we have data on
Oh.
idling now and whether there's likelihood of actually improving the situation? And to what degree that actually impacts emissions?
Well, OGL is preparing this grant and they have some idling reduction calculations that they put in there. I don't have the number in front of me, but they do a calculation on when you tie those together, what
Yeah.
it can do.
And then presumably with the data, they'll be able to sort of report on that after they get it going.
Someone will be able to. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know if they would automatically or we would have to
Yeah.
pay to do calculations, but we could do that.
I would be interested to know if it's cost effective. I think, to me, it's a trade-off between, I think we want smooth, traffic flow on, say, Shawnee Mission Parkway and Metcalf and things like that for the most part. I'm a little more hesitant to say that I'm eager to have better traffic flow on Johnson Drive when there have, pedestrian. It's a little heavier pedestrian kind of, shopping, walking around type of area, but I recognize the trade-off. So I just want to make sure that we're able to, really follow up and look at the data and make sure that it's doing what we hoped it would.
Yeah.
For the price, both,
And-
the number, the dollars and
Right.
the other costs.
I'm sure they can give us information, but tying those together, so you won't get to one signal
Yeah.
and then get to the other one and have to stop, it'll have a flow, which doesn't mean that it's
Sure.
people are gonna speed more or anything like
Right.
that. It's just going to flow more, together so that you're not having to stop and start.
Yeah, I recognize
Yeah.
it's almost impossible to model all the variables, but if we can, make sure to follow up and see how it's impacting the situation, that'd be my preference.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Item number 3.
So there's someone in the room who knows more about this than me, but I will proceed. Electric vehicle charging stations, we agreed to, we had in the 2023 budget as it was planned for 2 charger stations at the community center. So we had planned on moving forward with that on our own dime. This grant provided an opportunity with Climate Action KC and Johnson County to submit those sites and additionally 2 others at Broadmoor Park to a countywide application for charging stations. The location and the potential estimated costs of connecting to power at those sites has been estimated by an engineer who worked for all of the sites to pull that data together. And you see that there, the project cost, the local match for the 4 stations would be 44,762, which I think is a relevant number for that. And you can see we've added the documentation to the packet to show all of the different locations that are being proposed. I don't know if that's changed since, but it was a growing list. And then the potential most ideal locations that Penn Almany walked with our engineer consultant to locate those in the most cost-effective and practical places.
Yeah, Ken?
Would it be more cost effective for us to apply the dollars from the OGL project to adding more EV charging stations, because then you wouldn't have any idling?
That's a lot of stations, essentially.
Emily, could you repeat the local match or the estimate? I understand it's an engineering estimate at this point.
44,762.
And what was our 2023 funding that we already
It
allocated?
was much lower. It was 15.
15. Okay,
Yeah.
so a third of it. Okay. Any questions on this piece? Okay, seeing none, I would entertain a motion on this item.
Mayor, I move the city council authorize staff and authorized agents to submit grant applications for carbon reduction program funding for bike share infrastructure, Operation Greenlight traffic signal coordination infrastructure, and the installation of electric vehicle charging stations.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any additional council questions or further discussion on this item? Yes, Hillary?
No conflict, but just want to disclose I'm on the Board of Climate Action, KC. Thanks.
Anything else? Seeing none, Robin, please call the roll.
Boltinghouse,
Aye.
Ryard,
Aye.
Thomas,
Yeah.
Crane,
Aye.
Josie,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
motion carries.
Okay, there being no further business items for consideration, we'll move into comments from the city council. This is an opportunity for comments from our council members. Does anyone on the council have something they'd like to share? Yes, Hillary, and then Debbie.
Councilmember Boltinghouse and I are having a Ward 1 meeting at Rock Creek Brewery. So that'll be fun on May 25th at 6 p.m. So anyone and everyone is welcome.
Yes,
Trent
Debbie.
spying, just kidding.
Ward 3 will be there. Just a couple comments. I want to give an update. I sit on the site council for Rushton Elementary, doing a phenomenal job with the transition into the school at Westwood right now. It's hard on the staff, it's hard on the kids, and it's hard on their parents, but they're doing an amazing job. Social worker is doing phenomenal with her therapy dog Moose. He's a big hit with the kids. And I want to say that the PTA has stepped up big time. It's the best PTA I've seen since my kids were there 30 years ago. So I want to commend Robin because she balances her workload between this city, her daughter, and the school, and it really shows. They're doing a phenomenal job. So school will be out in a couple of weeks. So look out for all those kiddos out there while you're driving. Secondly, I want to tell you, I sit on Johnson County Solid Waste Commission. We had a meeting last week and a couple of things came up that I thought were interesting from Waste Management. Waste Management is putting a big volume of their budget this next year on robots. They're alleviating the human element when it comes to the conveyor belt and what's being recycled. Currently, the staff said it takes they add 50 items per minute to the waste stream via the conveyor belt. If it's a person doing it, a robot can do 1,000 items per minute. So they're going to focus on that. It's going to be a redirect of their, not only their budget process, but how they do business. Also, something came up and I didn't get the details and I apologize. I've got to call into them. They're going to have a new gas plant in Shawnee and the Solid Waste Commission is going to be invited to a ribbon cutting, but I don't know what that entails. I don't know if it's alleviation of gas, method. They didn't give details and I had a call into them. I haven't gotten a comment back. Lastly, with summer coming on, we're going to have more trash along the corridor between Johnson Drive and the arterial roads. I would ask if the city owns trash cans and we need to do a better job of potentially cleaning up the trash. That's element one. Two, it might be a nice time for a friendly reminder to go out to the businesses who have trash along their areas to please make sure they're cleaned up, because I will tell you, Dollar Tree has their trash overwhelming virtually every day. And it just looks bad on the city and no one can put trash in there if they're trying to. So a kind letter saying, reminder, this is your responsibility. If it's on city easement, that's different, but I would, as summer comes across, we're going to have more and more people out with more and more potential trash, and getting a handle on that would be really helpful and I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, Ken.
I just wanted to express some thank yous to all the chairs and vice chairs that are retiring. Even though some are continuing as vice chairs, really appreciate all the work that you do and bringing issues and carrying out the committee tasks. Thank you.
Yes, and all of you didn't know what you signed up for, but Laura and I will be circling back to have meetings with our new leadership team. So anything else? Seeing nothing further, we will move on to our council committee liaison reports. These reports allow the entire governing body to stay up to date with the various activities of our boards, commissions, and committees. First will be council members Crane and Thomas for Sustainability Commission.
We met, I don't know, what, 2 weeks ago? Maybe 2 weeks ago or so. I don't know. It's a blur. Lots of updates at that meeting. There's just a lot going on outside, lots of reporting. There was a report on the energy audit grant and kind of updates on that. If you're not familiar, the city is allowing folks to get energy audits, and then there's an opportunity to apply for funds to make some of those improvements for those particular folks. Emily talked through what maybe the selection process might look like for that. Emily gave an update on the greenhouse gas inventory, which we all learned about a lot earlier this evening. Emily gave an update on the Climate and Environment Council that she sits on at MARC.
And then the subcommittees, there's various subcommittees in the Sustainability Commission, including Communities for All Ages, Recycling, Communications, and Sustainability Scorecard. Those all gave updates on their subcommittees and the things that they've been doing. Nothing I feel like that needs to be particularly highlighted right now, but updates across the board. And we had a representative from Parks and Rec give a great update on all the progress at Mohawk, which everyone's excited about. And I think that was most of it. What am I missing, Debbie? Okay, Emily, anything else? Okay.
All right, thank you. Oh, yeah, Debbie?
I wanted to focus mine on how phenomenal our Sustainability Commission is and how renowned it is and noticed throughout Johnson County. We have had Shawnee and Roland Park come to meetings to get examples of what they could do in their cities. And I've had comments and phone calls from Overland Park and Lenexa about trying to duplicate the efforts that Mission took the long way to get to because we tried to do it the right way. And I just think it's phenomenal. And I think Emily's leadership in everything that we do on the sustainability level is second to none. And I want to tell her how much I appreciate it.
All right, thank you both. Next, we have Councilmember Reinhardt for the Parks, Recreation, and Tree Commission.
Yeah. So we met this past Monday and it was a really good meeting. We met in Broadmoor, so it was nice to get outside, even though it was a little chilly, a little rainy. But we took a walk around Broadmoor and kind of, noted some things that we wanted to, well, at least the commission members wanted to change or look at in the park. We had 2 new members attending, so it was cool to see some like fresh eyes on the park. And I know Penn noted some things that they noticed. I know they're also, they have completed recommendations that they want to give to council, and I know they'll be presenting at some point. They will also have a table at the Mission Market on June 29th. So some materials on various programs and things that PRT does, like championship trees and all of that. And as Hillary noted, updates on Mohawk, the roofing is nearly complete and the actual restroom pieces are being installed. So, yep.
Great. Next, we'll hear from Councilmember Boltinghouse on the Mission Magazine editorial board.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The editorial board met last Wednesday and we got to meet our new writer, Chris Baker. That was kind of a transition between when Denise left, trying to find someone local who'd be able to kind of give the quality kind of boots on the ground type of features that we've come to expect. And it was really great to meet him and talk about his ideas. And we're actually already starting to talk about story ideas in the 2024. So that was kind of fun to, throw a few of those around and see what was going to stick. And you might have noticed that the most recent issue just recently hit your mailboxes. There's even a feature in there about Mary's husband, about his beekeeping. So if you haven't had a chance to read that, go ahead and check that out. Okay. I'm a little ahead of the game. Yeah.
Sneak preview.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lots of familiar faces.
Gotcha. So yeah, it was nice to get back and see everybody.
Great. And finally is Councilmember Chosi with Family Adoption Committee.
We have not met since my last report.
All righty. So next we will move into our city administrators report. Laura, do you have any items you'd like to share with us tonight?
Just a couple. Thank you, Mayor. And Robin has a quick business update. She shared some of those things at the committee meeting. But I just wanted to kind of touch on, we'll be sending out kind of an updated schedule. We jumped in really last week in earnest as a leadership team and staff on the 2024 budget process. And so we will have our first budget kind of workshop and discussion at our June 7th committee meetings, followed, I believe, 2 weeks later by a discussion of our CIP. So the department directors have been started their arm wrestling for and collaboration on supplemental requests and other programs. So looking forward to being able to bring that forward in the next couple of weeks. And that's all I have, other than Robin has some business.
Great.
Thank you. Most of my updates are ones that we discussed at the committee meetings a couple of weeks ago, so I'll go through them quickly. Tacos El Gallo opened on May 3rd at 5038 Lamar, where Lalo's was. Casey's still has a tentative opening date of June 1st at 5800 Johnson Drive. Crumble Cookies is opening in approximately 3 weeks. 6021 Metcalf, where Subway was previously. Triforce Chiropractic, a holistic wellness approach to healthcare, has opened at 4730 Lamar, just next to Quick Trip there. And then Campesino Mexican Grill and Cantina will open in the former Stroud space at 5405 Johnson Drive in August. Our closings, Salsa Grill, as we talked about earlier, on May 26th, after 22 years in business, they are retiring. Mission Fresh Fashion as well is retiring on May 26th after 20 years in Mission. Tuesday Morning is closing all of their stores nationwide due to their bankruptcy filing. Stroud's and Mission, along with Stroud's Express and Lee Summit, have both closed, and we have a new tenant for their location. And then Brothers Toys and Music, unfortunately, needs more space that they cannot find in their current location, and they are moving to Shawnee. Their last day open is Sunday, May 21st. Other updates, we talked about these in the committee meetings as well. The former Wild Oats building, we don't have anything new since then, but then owner is in negotiations with a potential retailer. We haven't heard any updates there. The former Godfather's location at 7002 Johnson Drive. The whole building is leased by Sherwin-Williams and Godfather's subleased from them. So there's no active marketing for that sublease space. We believe Sherwin-Williams is using the whole building right now. Former Don Toledo's building, Big Biscuit still has every intention of moving in there, and they are working on some site improvements. They hope to be open by fall of this year. Popeyes, we have made contact with the owners, and they are working with Brian and the community development team to get the property hopefully rebuilt. We are still working on getting them changed the sign, but we've requested it a couple of times. Today, when I was driving by there, I thought about you, Debbie, and I thought, I need to see if we can get that sign changed again. And then, yeah. And then former Avalito's site at 6522 MARTWAY, the other place sports bar, is still working through their plans for renovation of the interior, and they hope to open in the fall as well.
Great. Thank you, Robin. Next would be executive session, but we do not have need for an executive session this evening. So before we adjourn tonight, I want to share with the public that the video from this meeting will be available through a link on our website at missionks.org. There being no further business tonight, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.